Welcome back. Today we talk about filters, more specifically variable ND filter, which is called K&F Concept HD ND2 to ND400 non-stop variable ND filter NANO-X 2. The, the name is very long. I'll write it here just because I had to read it. I would never be able to remind that. So, full disclosure, K&F sent me this filter to test it out. They wanted to have my honest opinion on the filter, but I get to keep it. So it's a matter of trust. I'm telling you that my review is as unbiased as possible, but you need to know that I get to keep the filter, and they sent it over for free. Does it mean that I will have to say something positive? Not necessarily. They don't know what I'm about to say. They don't know what I think about the filter just yet. I was only asked to provide honest feedbacks, and this is what I'm gonna get to you, whether you believe or not that I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. Now, without any further ado, let's get into it and let's just talk about the filter. The build quality of the filter is really nice. It comes in a really nice faux leather holder, which has a flippy strap, I don't know how to call it, that makes it really easy to take it out of the case. And it's got a really visible knob that helps you find the better way to move the filter around. It is made of like two polarizing elements, and if you rotate, as you see now, it'll become darker and darker. That's pretty much how all of the variable ND filters operate. Not all of them, but the majority of them. The cross-section itself seems solid. It's well built. It doesn't feel like it's cracking in your hand. It feels like it's durable. It feels like it's gonna be your companion for quite a while. So I'm really pleased with the construction, with the only exception of the fact that it doesn't have hard stops at the two ends of the range, but more on that later. Speaking of image quality, or the effect that this filter has on the overall image quality, as you all know, each and every filter will affect the image somehow, and and you use filter to get to a specific result, accepting that the filter introduces compromises. There is no filter that is going to make your image better per se. It is going to help you to get to the specific result, in this case a well-determined shutter speed, but it's going to introduce some issues, some compromises with the image quality. This filter doesn't seem to affect the image too heavily, meaning that the color cast is only minor and it's easy to get rid of. And this is a lot to say for a variable ND filter that gets to a 9-stop of ND filtering. Usually you have pretty heavy color cast. This one doesn't. And also it doesn't affect the sharpness of the image too much. As you see now in this detail, it's not like it's gonna kill in the image. Yes, it somehow makes it a little bit less sharp, and it kind of reduces the overall contrast of the scene, but it's not dramatic. It's something you can easily work with. So in general, it's a really usable filter that doesn't kill your image. Also, as I said, being based on a double polarizing filter, it introduces some polarizing effects when you move around. You're seeing a scene right now, and you see that in the scene there's areas that are darker than others, and that's basically the effect of the polarizing filter. It also slightly makes the image a little bit worse when it comes to flare, but again, not too much. It's something you can easily work with, and it's not something I would worry about too much. When it comes to the handling of this variable ND filter, why am I focusing on handling? Because handling makes your life easy. If it's a good handling, it makes your life easier. Now, as I said, the case itself is really nice, and it is easy to pull the filter out of the case. So it's a good start. And like in general, the knob at the top, or the knob, the red knob, makes it really easy to move the filter around. However, the lack of hard stops makes it a little bit more complicated, because you need to think about that if you keep going, the image is gonna be affected dramatically. You're seeing an example right now. So you need to be aware of where to stop, and that's where hard stop would have come really handy. They have other filters with hard stop. I don't know, I don't get why they didn't do it in this one, which is one of their best filter when it comes to image quality overall. Because what happens is that if you have time, you will not screw up. But if you're in a rush, what happens is what you're seeing right now, where I went just a little bit over its maximum range, and you see the polarization effect, the vignetting effect on the corners, and that's something that may ruin your shot depending on what it is that you're doing. Of course, it's more visible on super wide angle lens. I was shooting on one of those, but in general, having hard stops would have helped mitigate this issue, or removing it at all. Also, I realized that if you go slightly beyond its range, the autofocus starts going nuts. It's like it's affecting the autofocus performance, because the image goes a little bit crazy. So in conclusion, once you get into filmography or video in general, you quickly realize that you may need variable ND filters. Even if you don't use them all the time, you realize that probably you need them in your kit. And what do you want out of a filter? You want them to get you to what you want as far as the final image goes, without affecting the image quality in the wrong way too much. Meaning that you don't want color cast, you don't want the sharpness to be killed, you don't want a lot of stuff to happen. Now, in my opinion, this filter delivers in all of that. Sharpness remains pretty high, or at least on par with the lens without the filter. Contrast and saturation remain pretty comparable to the lens without the filter, and the color cast is minimal. The construction is really good. It feels solid and durable. The case is perfect because it makes it easy to take it out. So in general, it's a filter that delivers when it comes to what it matters, meaning the image quality. My only concern with this filter, again, is the lack of solid stops at the two ends of the range. And as I said before, when you're in a relaxed environment and you have time, you're not going to screw up. But if you're in a rush, if you go from a really dark scene to a really bright scene, or vice versa, you may run the risk of getting outside of the range and getting those weird effects that killed the image. And this is something you don't want, because if you don't realize that this happened, because don't like 3-inch screen on modern cameras, yes, they're good now, but it's hard to tell if you're killing the image with those effects, if it's just slightly out of the range. So you get back home and you realize that you screwed up. There's no way of going back and doing it again. So that's again my only concern with this filter. Is it a showstopper? Not really. I don't think it's a showstopper. You over the time using it, you will probably get used to it, and you'll probably get to know where to stop without even thinking. But it's something you need to keep in mind. I would strongly recommend this filter, because for the price, which is around, well, depending on the size, of course, mine is a 77mm, and it's about 80 euros if I'm not wrong. Oh, by the way, I will have discount codes in the comments down below, so go check the description to get 10% off or 5% off depending on where you're buying it. But what I was saying is, for the price, this filter is really good where it matters, meaning the image quality, with the only concern about that lack of hard stops. If you want to get better result, you will probably need to spend 2 or 3 times as much. And if you're just a beginner, or that is not your main business, you may not want to spend those funds in a filter, because also remember that a filter can drop, and if you drop a $250 filter, it's quite of a hit. When you're dropping an $80 filter, okay, you can still feel the pain, but it's less than 250. So it all depends on you. If you want to go full blast on the top of the line filters, it's on you. But this one gives you not, like, I would say, similar result, really comparable result with a fraction of the price. So that's why I would recommend it, despite the lack of hard stops. I guess that's it for today. Don't forget the discount codes in the comment below, as I already said, and leave me a thumbs up, share this video, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing, because I have a lot of material, a lot of content in my plans for the future, and you may not want to miss them out. That's it. Ciao. I'll see you in the next one.